Hi, the title of today's video is Are You Avoiding Your Magic? I'm Andy Sway. I'm a healer, hypnotist, past life regressionist, and manifestation consultant, among other things, in Los Angeles. And, when it comes down to it, doing the work that I do, guiding people to connect with their higher selves and clearing out all the blockages in the way, you see that the only thing really blocking you from this higher level of you is your own ego, your own fears. You are your soul. You take on the cloak of your physical body and your ego and your identity. And that cloak of physical body, ego, identity has to deal with the fact that you were in one way or another traumatized throughout your life. And I don't mean traumatized like physical abuse, sexual abuse, although that very well may have happened. What I mean by traumatized is that you have been encouraged to disregard the thing that makes you the most special. In fact, you may have been mercilessly attacked for that. Kids go through a period, and don't ask me, I'm not a child psychologist, but they go through a period where it's all in the early teen years, I believe, mainly. I remember it a lot in junior high and later, where it's all about conformity. Kids are weird and they mess with each other and they do enforce conformity from a very early age. But then when it gets to the teen years, they really get serious. They'll mock anybody that's different and get pretty cruel. And the thing is, a lot of times what is different about a person is the thing that if they developed it more, it would be a major talent. It would be a major source of joy and creative self-expression. But in our current society, at least, most people that ever even get anywhere near that point of finding this thing, they get teased, they get ridiculed. And it takes the rare person to actually develop their special gift. And that's why these people are famous, and this is why people get fanatical about them and become what's called fans, right? The people who dare to really connect with their soul and express from that level, they gain a certain amount of respect. They're not all famous, obviously, right? But they do gain. They reach the next level in terms of human self-expression, and even the normal people out there, the people who might have teased them mercilessly, or people like them, they become fans. So the thing is, let's get back to you. Get away from all this theoretical stuff. You have something that I call your magic. Imagine it sits right in your heart. And imagine that it's really alive, it's really playful, but it's also very undefended. It doesn't have the normal defenses that an ego builds up around things like self-image. And so what happens is, maybe you just laugh a little funny when you're a kid and people torment you. But behind that laughter is an impulse from spirit. It might be an impulse to be a comedian. It might be an impulse just to be a joyful person. or there might be other creative impulses, but it's almost like you have to follow the laughter. You have to follow that giggle. And, you're not going to get one answer like you are destined to be a comedian. That could be it. But it's more nuanced than that because it's not something you could put into words. It's an energy. It's an energy that you need to bring out. It's not a ready-made energy that's already set in stone. It's something that you actually have to create. And that could be a really exciting, amazing thing. So society it really doesn't have that much interest in your magic until it gets to a point where it can make money for you and others who get a percentage. Then they'll get really interested. But before that, there's this huge hurdle. So most people don't ever even get to the point where they notice the hurdle. They do get to the point where they're teased for something that's very uniquely them. And because they can't say, well, this is just the origins, this is the germ stage or whatever of my talent that's going to be coming out 30 years from now, right? Nobody's that sure about it. You can't be that sure about it because you receive it as you receive it from your higher self, your soul, the non-physical part of you. So the first stage in really integrating spirit with ego, body, and all of that, all these 3D levels of you, is to stop killing your magic and to start nurturing it. Now, there are many things that you can do. Number one, I always say, don't practice this stuff at work first, right? Ideally, work is not where you want to try out your new weirdness, because you don't want to get fired and lose your income because you start being a clown. And you're probably not very good at it in the beginning. It might be a little forced. So you don't want to practice at work. You don't want to practice all your weirdness at a place that, can deprive you of your living. You can save that for later when you might be done with that place and might be better to get fired than to quit. I digress. Anyway, so the thing is, what you want to do is, besides a place where it could get you in trouble, like work, you want to just try to let these impulses out as they come. First of all, what you have to realize is you have these impulses from spirit. Okay, just being able to realize that and to untangle these impulses from spirit from the impulses from repressed ego, which are very different impulses. Just doing that untangling is a big job, for sure. But that's some of the work that I help people do. So you need to learn to untangle things between, things that, which is ego, which is spirit coming through. One way of seeing is if something is defending you, if you're defending yourself, it's probably ego. If you doubt it, if you doubt the impulse, if it seems too good to be true, if it seems to be wishful thinking, a lot of times that is the mark of a spiritual impulse, something coming from your higher self. Now, there are very similar thoughts that come totally from ego. And so the other thing to realize is that you might get a download from your higher self. That download will not be in words. It will be emotional and energetic, it'll be kind of like a new language that you're not really fluent in. So what you need to realize is that immediately when you get this feeling or image or whatever, you're going to put words onto it. And the level that you're at is going to determine the story that you tell. So a really important point as you bring out your magic is not to get too serious about the words. So what'll happen is, for example, you have an intuition. Like, I saw my mom getting in a car accident. I need to call her and tell her to drive carefully or not to drive today or whatever. Right? Now, what might have really happened is that you felt an energy of fear around your mother. Then your mind created an image of car accident, and then your ego ran with it and said, well, this is something I can handle. I can call my mom. I can tell her not to drive a car for the next week, or whatever. So you need to go back, retrace your steps, and try to get to that initial impulse, because that's where the action is, the initial impulse. The initial impulse just might have been a feeling of fear. It might have been some other kind of feeling, right? Then it got translated into an image, and then the image got translated into a message, and it all happened at the speed of thought. And sometimes it's really hard to go back and retrace that. So as you bring your magic out, it's really important to not get lost in the description, but to stay in the energy, in the vibe of the message, okay? And to realize that as you bring your magic out, what's going to happen is there's going to be some kind of replay somewhere of the message that you got earlier in life, basically to shut up and conform. Okay, the messages might be subtler, and there might be all kinds of applause, and there might be a lot of pats on the back happening that weren't happening before. But at some point you're going to get the message of like, oh, you're going a little too far. Oh, that's kind of weird. Oh, you better pull that back. And so you need to realize that it's going to be an ongoing process of finding out where they hook you, because that shows you where you're weak, where you're insecure, where you don't really believe it. Okay, so on the one hand, it's tricky, because to bring out your magic is to bring out something that you don't know what it is as you bring it out. It's like improv. You go up on the stage maybe feeling confident that you're good at improv, but you really have no idea what you're going to be doing. And so you can't really say beforehand how it's going to go or what's going to happen. So it's think of it that way. Your magic is like doing improv. It's that you're trusting the flow, that things are going to come into your head. Impulses are going to come to you. And you're going to be able to either act on them or not. Then you're also going to have to figure out, through experience, not mentally, you're going to have to figure out what is authentic and what is inauthentic that wants to come through. Because they're all going to want to come through. And then some things are authentic energetically, and they shine through a filter of inauthenticity, and they get really muddled. So, for example, your intuition might tell you that somebody's lying. Now, your intuition didn't necessarily tell you to call them out on their lie, right? But you get the intuition like, you're lying, and then you just say, you're lying, or you start telling everybody else they're lying. That's not necessarily what you need to do. Maybe you just need to sit there and nod and know that they're lying and take appropriate action and not really confront the person. Or maybe you need to just say, yeah, you're lying. You know, it really depends. But that's going to depend on your patterns. If you have a pattern of never confronting anybody, then your intuition might be telling you they're lying so that you confront them and get over your pattern. If you have a pattern of always confronting everybody, then the move might be to hang back, right? So, you know, I'm kind of all over the place with all of these thoughts around bringing out your magic. But really what it comes down to is it's a vulnerable, on one level compared to the ego, a vulnerable, fragile part of you. It's like a giggle, okay? That's what your magic is. That's what your spirit is like. It's like a giggle. You giggle, and then somebody makes fun of how you giggle. I can make some very little girly sounds when I giggle, right? And so people can look at me like, you're a big dude making some little high-pitched girly sounds. What the hell? You know, if I fall apart because of that criticism, well, then I'm done, you know? But if I love myself and say, that's right, I make many sounds and that's some of the ones I make, got me, then it's all good, right? So it's about having the self-love that allows this part of you to come out, having the ability to monitor and deal with what is authentic and what is inauthentic, and realize that you're not going to get good at that right away, and it might be a lifelong pursuit. So bring out your magic, because it's all you got. It's the only thing you take with you. It's your spark, it's your essence, and if you look around, you'll notice there are a lot of people who've kind of lost that spark and essence for the most part. It comes out every now and then, but for the most part, they're not really tapped into it. And when they see it come out in you, either they are going to envy you, which doesn't mean they're always going to be nice, right? Or they're going to be disgusted by you because it's going to bring out their own kind of fears of what happened to them when they did that. They're going to feel your vulnerability as a horrible feeling that reminds them of their own vulnerability. And that might make them want to attack you as a replay of the attacks that they faced, as a message for you to get in line. Remember, when you change your energy, when you tap into your magic, it has a ripple effect on everybody around you. And a lot of people don't want to shift their energy. So the first impulse will be to put you back in your box. And you need to realize that going in. And then you can be really resilient, and you know it's coming. And you also know that whatever you're coming out with, it's not some perfect masterpiece of human behavior or creativity or whatever. You know, like some of the biggest comedians in the world will talk about how they'll go on stage one day with certain material, and the whole audience will love it. Everybody's falling on the floor laughing. And they go sometimes the same night or the next night, They have a different audience. They do the exact same material, not a laugh, right? They completely bomb. Well, that's what's going to happen when you let out your magic. Some people are going to connect to it. Some people are going to want to squash it. Some people are going to feel threatened by it. And some people are going to want to shut you up at all costs or reject you or whatever. So then it just becomes a thing, a question of, am I aligned with my own magic? Do I value it? Or do I value conformity? Now, either one is an option. It's just that my videos are about people who don't choose conformity. So if you choose conformity, everything else in the world will help you do that. But you don't need to be watching my stuff. That's your choice. Because it'll just mess with you. It'll just give you other ideas eventually. So beware. Anyway, have the courage to tap into your magic. Realize it's going to be messy, but realize that that core giggle, that core joy, that part of your spirit that is eternal and wants to be part of your life is there. It's alive right now. Your ego might have been traumatized by people's reactions to it. I'm sorry if that's what happened to you. But as you bring out your magic, it's going to be really worth it, because you're going to fall in love with your own spirit, with your own soul. And when you fall in love with your own spirit and your own soul, you fall in love with everything. And then there is no competition. There is no trying to be better than anybody, and there's no worrying about not being good enough. Bring out your magic. It's really all you have. The rest is illusion. Thanks for watching. If you want more information on my work, go to andysway.com, andysway.com, andysway@yahoo.com, or you can text me for information at 212-505-7729. It is a New York number, but I live in Hollywood. Thanks for watching.